everyone. I think I say this every time I have a guest, but I have a very special guest for you today. When I started actually finally getting around to creating the podcast, I was like, I have to have this guy on the show. I love his work. He's got to be on that. So today he's here for you. Who is he? He is Scott Alexander King. I'm going to show you one of his books that I love. And then I constantly refer to whenever I see an animal that I think has a significant message for me. So we'll talk about that. But who is Scott? Well, he writes books. He's an international author, teacher, public speaker, psychic medium, practitioner of earth medicine, and zoomancer. We'll come to that a bit more in a second too, if you don't know what a zoomancer is. As far as you know, he is the only zoomancer in Australia. He's the only one I know. He's actually the first one I've met. But having spent almost 2 years training daily under a medicine elder and with 14 published works to his name, all centered on animal symbolism, totemism, and spirit animals, Scott calls his path animal dreaming. It's a shamanic path that directly draws upon the wisdom, symbolism, and medicine ways of animals. He's born in Australia. He travels the world offering workshops, retreats, and courses. He lives in the picturesque subtropical northern rivers located 30 minutes inland from Byron Bay with his wife, 3 children, and a menagerie of rescued animals, including a miniature donkey, Shetland ponies, and alpacas. And I just want to read something to you from his website, which when I was, preparing for the show and doing all the things, studying Scott, I read this and I have to share it with you. Animal Dreaming, founded by Scott Alexander King, takes a shamanic approach to looking at the natural world, the animals, and the Earth Mother herself. According to Scott, the Earth is our mother and we are her children. Like any mother, she wants us to grow, heal, and unite as a people. She speaks to us every day. She speaks to us in a symbolic tongue, a tongue we, a people, have long forgotten and no longer understand. That language is older than words and is presented to us symbolically in the form of animals. The animals each have a message to impart, and we need to look once again to their medicine ways and integrate their wisdom into our lives. The animals do not make mistakes. Spirit does not make mistakes. If we heed the medicine ways of the animals, we too will forget how to make mistakes. The ancients knew this ancient language, and we are being urged to remember it. When we look at the medicine ways of nature, we see the earth and all the creatures that live upon it as messages imbued with particular characteristics that offer insight into our own true natures. When we open ourselves to the guidance of animal teachers, we receive confirmation of our innate strengths and the medicine we need to heal life's sorrows. When we experience interdependence with all life, we find our own honoured place in creation. Now that actually, I almost thought I was going to cry when I was reading that. It is so beautiful. But anyway, I'm now going to bring Scott to you right here, right now for our what's bound to be a delicious conversation about the amazingness of animals and maybe a bit of Mother Nature too.
Hello and welcome to the Natural Animal Podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Hatton. I'm an animal naturopath and big animal lover. Here on the show, we share thoughts and ideas about the nature of animals, their preferences, their behaviours, their ways of being, to engender a greater understanding, respect, compassion and love for all animals, companion, farm and wild. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, which is brought to you by Frontier Pets, creators of nutritionally superior pet food that is inspired by traditional whole food diets with a modern and ethical approach. Stay tuned for a special announcement about a brand new offering they have for your dogs and cats.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Ruth. I was sitting there listening to that introduction thinking, oh my God, that does sound beautiful. And then obviously I wrote it. Yeah, I wrote it a long time ago when someone asked me to explain what I did, and I thought, how do I explain something that is so naturally ingrained in me, like breathing? Like how do I explain that? So
You did a very
thank you.
good job.
Yeah, thank you for reminding, because that's exactly that in a nutshell. Is exactly it makes my heart sing. That does.
It's so beautiful. Like I can feel it in my heart. I felt it in my heart as I was reading it. And it's just like, as I got into it and just really, focus into the energy of it is just beautiful. It's just well done. So
Thank you.
I left a little I can't think of the word thing in there, a little prompt or a little
Teaser.
teaser. That's it. That's the word, a teaser. What is zoomancy, Scott?
Okay. Well, listen, it took me a long time to work out what it was that I do, because I'm a little bit different to a lot of people in that, yes, I see the spirits of animals when I see people. I see their totems, their power animals, things. But one of the things that I really love about what I do is that I'm able to help people understand where they're going in life, or why certain things may have unfolded in the past, or just I've come to those conclusions based on the animals that people have seen or encountered or come across while going about their day-to-day lives, right? And that attracted a lot of attention in the early days. I was on radio being interviewed, and people would ask me, so like, are you an animal communicator? Are you, an animal psychic? It's like, no, not really. I mean, I do talk to the animals, but not the way animal communicators do. It's more symbolic. They present themselves. They don't have to say much at all, and I understand exactly what I need to do and say. Or anyway, so it took a long time to figure out what that actually was called, and it came just talking and researching. It just came across the word zoomancer, and the word mancy, obviously, mancer is to do with divination, and zoo is a word that is associated with collections of animals or animal, as and the animal kingdom as a whole. There's whole zoology thing. Anyway, so I wondered, and I Googled it, and sure enough, there it was. And it basically talks about being able to help people divine their future, or help people find their way, basically by looking to the animals as symbols and interpreting those symbols. It's no different to looking to the clouds for symbols, for the symbols of clouds, looking for the meaning of that, or smoke as it comes out of a fire, the shape that might form, or even the coals after the fire's gone down. They're all forms of divination. I've done them all. Like the old days, they would look to how blood splattered on the floor, or how if they spilt something, there's an old divination where they would take a snail and place it on a piece of slate and ask it a question in the belief that it would spell the answer for, who I might marry, for example. Yeah. So it all just comes from that. It's just a form of divination based on the animal world. And yeah, as I said, I don't know anyone else who practices it the same way I practice it. I'm sure there's others out there. There wouldn't be a definition of that sort of divination, but I practice it every day.
So it is this form of divination, and I've watched enough crime shows, but I've seen that. I remember there was one crime show where there was a detective, and this was his skill. He would look at the blood, and he would get all these images, and this is what happened by looking at the pattern.
Well, I believe very strongly that I could easily profile a scene like that by simply sitting and asking the animals to present themselves, to share with me the things that they encountered on that day. I've sort of done that before heaps of times, and yeah, there's a wealth of knowledge out there that a lot of people are unaware of, or who haven't considered accessing.
Yeah. The animals are always watching.
Always watching.
They're there. You walk in the forest. I walk in the forest. I'm like, hello, I can't see you, but I know you're there. Hello.
Yeah, and I know you're watching me. That's right.
You're watching me. But I don't know if it was. I remember reading that somewhere. I don't know if it was in some of your works, but around someone who, I think it was a woman who did this, and it could have been make believe, it could have been a TV show. I think it was a TV show, but the ideas do come from real life, right?
Yes, that's right.
They're inspired by real life. And there was a woman, and it's all come back to me. See it in my head. She would, so if there was an animal present at a crime scene, she
That's
would
right.
go and she would ask the animals, what happened? What did you see?
Mm.
And that's how she'd solve these crimes. Which
It's like profiling. Profiling
it's
is
like
the natural
profiling.
world. That's right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you've called your path animal dreaming.
Yeah.
And, I read that excerpt from your website, but, and I think maybe the answer to the previous question is also the same answer to this question, right? But it's like, what is that all about? And surely it's not just about having, dreams about animals.
Yeah. Well, to me, look, I've got Aboriginal friends. I've got friends who have, grown up in the. It's hard to say. They're all so different. I don't want to put them all into a pigeonhole, pigeonhole them. But basically, the word dreaming, I've come to understand means like power and knowledge and wisdom. It's also like a point in time, I guess. It's like it's that point of creation. It's that time of great fertility, I guess, when the world was new, that time before time when basically an idea could become something, in the physical form. And if you changed your mind, you could alter that, But to me, the word dreaming literally means knowledge and power and wisdom. So animal dreaming is just the knowledge and the wisdom and power of animals, and not power as in control, power as in knowledge. It comes back to just knowing that the animals know everything. There's not a single thing that the animals can't help with, not one single thing. And so that's what animal dreaming is. It's my path. I follow it, and I've been living that path, gosh, since I was a child.
Yeah. And I definitely want you to share some of your story in a sec. But on that whole point around, the animals know everything, this chat is going to be part of season 2 of my show. So I'm trying to phrase this in a way that, time travel.
Yes.
The thing I'm going to tell you will have already happened by the time this goes out into the world. So one of my guests in season 1, she actually hasn't gone live yet, but by the time this is live, it will have.
Yeah.
She, I had some sessions with her. She is an animal communicator, and I had some sessions with her with my cats. And one of the things she said around, one of my guys, Elvie, was like, he knows every person you meet. He knows every place you're going to when you go out, and, he knows all the clients that are coming to work with you. He decides who's going to work with you and who's not going to work with you. And it's like, Jesus. But the animals know. Like he's my protector, right? He's like,
that's right.
Yeah. Mum, who's this? I don't like that person. So yeah, it's interesting when you look at, when you really get into and explore the depths of the human-animal relationship and the goal.
Oh, look, I just see them as being, well, to me, they're archetypes. Animals, to me, see, I see the word and I know what I resonate exactly with what you're saying, because I've had animals my whole life.
Yeah.
And I've always been surrounded by it. I met my wife in a pet shop, for God's sake. I've always been around animals, always. But my relationship to them is sort of different to that, because when I was a kid, look, I had a really rough childhood. I know this, I'm probably jumping around in your order, but I had a pretty rough childhood, so I'm not going to go into it hugely, but the animals sort of were the only thing that was consistent. So they were the only things that I could rely on to be there, every day. So it wasn't so much that I was talking to the animals. They didn't talk to me like your animal communication friend does. They don't sit and tell me, like I don't have messages placed in my head so much as like knowings about things. It's hard to explain. I don't we've got a really old cat called Pushkin, right? So if I was to go out and sit with her, she might tell me, what her day was like, but she's not going to tell me, this is me. I've not ever had that ability to be able to sit and have her tell me whether the person I'm having a business meeting with is reliable or whatever. What I do instead is I look to the wider world, and I look to see what animals I see leading up to that meeting, and symbolically I place their messages together to create a sentence in my head. And I don't consciously do that. It just happens. Like, I was running a webinar the other day and there were people showing feathers, and the feathers, I didn't look at the feathers so much, I looked to the bird. And so when they were holding the feathers up in sequence, it was like pulling cards, like I knew based on the sequence of the birds that were appearing and what those birds mean to me. And what they mean to me is different to what they might mean to other people, because I have seen those animals and formed a relationship with them in a way that every time I see them, it's always sort of in the same setting or the same energy. So I know, like, there's a repetition, if you like, or a pattern. I can't explain how the messages come to me, but when I see them in sequence, like when people talk holding up their feathers, I get a reading for them. It just happens that way. So although your friend chats to the animal, like, I know, because it's hard to explain, but when I have, like, the animals just know, they just, it's not that they tell me, the symbolism just, I can't explain. I don't have the words to explain. It's just that when I see the animals, I know exactly what they mean. It's not what they're saying.
It's a knowing, like, clear cognizance, yeah.
Well, and so for example, dog generically, mean, there's a list of generic words that dog relates when I see them: unconditional love, loyalty, companionship, faith, trust, all those sorts of things, protection. But when you look at the specific breed of dog, that fine-tunes it even more. Then I look to see whether the dog how it's looked after, if it's overweight or if it's, snarly, or whether it's timid, or that all tells me something about the person I'm talking to, so, or the situation. Then just say a swallow flies overhead, then that adds to the message. So it's the symbolism, and it all creates this story, and I just know stuff. I just know exactly what I need to know, and I don't have to think about it. And then another thing I might see a grasshopper and I think, I'll add that, but it's not conscious, and it just goes bang, 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 and suddenly I've got a message. I don't understand.
It sounds like this consistent observation and awareness of your
constantly observing
surroundings.
That's all I do, is I watch and I observe, and I watch for patterns and repeats. So if I'm somewhere and I see a mouse, for example, I'll look at that scenario and I'll remember that. And the next time I see a mouse, I'll test, does this match? Does the same scenario match? So often it does, but then other things we've thrown into the mix over here to enhance that message, to make it personal to that person. So mouse can mean half a dozen different things to me if I see it as a symbol, but if go to someone's house and I see a mouse in their house, that's a different scenario again. Like, it's a totally different
context.
Yeah. If someone's, like, it can be anything. A mouse could represent to me anything from contracts being offered right through to someone stealing money from you. So, do you know what I mean? So, it's based on those old stories and myths and legends and observations and experiences, fears, phobias, all those sorts of things have all come together to create or paint a picture for me. I mean, also keeping in mind that having animals, like, I'll get a knowing when I've got to go outside to check on them because they're calling to me. So I do that, but that's not my medicine. That's not where I get my information from. The animals themselves. Even when I'm doing a reading for someone and I can see their totems or their power animals or their archetypes, whatever it is that are with them, they don't talk. They just sit there.
Yeah.
And based on the other animals that appear, that's how I do the reading. They don't talk. People think, you're hearing voices. Like, no, I'm not. They don't talk.
Yeah. I just called in mine, so you might start to see them all around me now.
I don't need you to call them in.
No, they'll just they know. Yes.
And also keeping in mind what I see with you is based on this moment. Because growing up, like, I needed to know, because of my childhood, I needed to know I was safe. So I didn't look at someone and wonder, what totem animal they had. I looked at people to see what they were willing to show me energetically at the time, and I would translate that into an animal form. So I did it purely so I knew whether I should talk to that person or not talk to that person. It came down to as simple as that.
I love
Do you
that.
understand? So people often test me and say, "Oh, I know what my power animal is. Can you tell me?" And I say, "I can't. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not here to prove anything. I know exactly what I know.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to do that competition."
yeah. I don't have to. Yeah. So you look
What
at
someone else sees in you is not what necessarily what I'm going to see in you. Yeah,
totally. It's like the resonance of the resonance of the
that's right.
energy and what is showing up energetically now.
Yeah,
And so you can look at a person and it's like trusting in that guidance of energetically what's coming through right now. And then,
like for example, that elephant on the picture behind you tells me stuff about you.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
for those on the YouTube, that's a bit hidden there, but yeah, the beautiful coloured elephant.
Yeah, but see, to me, as a symbol, that tells me about you. It tells me about your mother. It tells me about the sort of woman you are and what's important in life for you, because it's in this room.
That I bought off Instagram or something.
But it's nothing. It's like pulling a card.
Yeah.
That's so. Yeah, and you wouldn't have it in your home if it wasn't of significance.
Exactly, and in my workspace.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's lots of feathers. I love that. I love the colours. I love the symbolism. I love elephants, but I love how it brings in the feathers and other even like kind of like peacocky at the top of the elephant.
That's right.
Like it's beautiful.
It's still an elephant, and it's an African elephant to be.
Yeah. It's So again, it just comes back to this observing and seeing the symbolism of what's in the person, in the environment, in the energy,
that's right.
That's relevant at this point in time.
That's right. And those messages don't always come to me from physical encounters. So, like, I'll be sitting somewhere and all these animals may start to appear, and I'll be able to sort of profile the area, or like my brain works, and I don't even think about it; it just happens. So I get these thoughts and feelings. But then other times, I'll have the need for a sign, and I'll ask Mother Earth to show me a sign. And say the sign that Mother Earth wants me to see is the African elephant. Well, I'm not going to see too many of those having a coffee in the local cafe, So, no. So I remain vigilant to animals speaking to me in, imagery or brand labels or number plates on cars or football team jumpers, all those sorts of car logos, all that. There's animals everywhere.
Yeah.
And everywhere. Yeah. And you've got to know where to look. But then you just got to be aware to, remain aware and vigilant to see them. So if I see 3 African elephants in a sequence, for example, I'll know Mother Earth wants me to act in this act in this way, or handle that situation from this perspective, or, address something in my own family or whatever it is at that time, So the third way, of course, is
you might see another. You've seen one today already.
That's right.
So
that's right.
You might the pattern may form.
So, well, you just don't know, and so I just remain aware of that and vigilant to see if that's going to unfold, But the other way, of course, is intuitively, where I see people and see their animals. That's the other way I get the messages. So it comes 3 ways.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping some of mine would join us. I mean, they still might. We've still got time, but I don't know where.
Your actual animals,
not my totem spirit animals, but my actual animals. He was sitting right here, and then he obviously changed his mind. He's like, "No, I'm going to sleep. See you later." Mum's doing her work. So, and is that how now? It's my turn to jump all over the place here because I've gone to a question at the bottom of my sheet.
That's all right.
But that's how you wrote these books, based on your observations over time and your knowings and your ability to identify patterns and understand the relationship between those patterns and the animals.
Keeping in mind, I did write that a very, very long time ago. So back in about 2003, I suppose. And
the photo in there. Look at you.
I'm young, and that beautiful little puppy died of old age. So, that's how old that photo is.
So you need to do an update. You surely have new observations.
I don't publish that book, so I don't have any power over that one. But Blue Angel does that one. But so keeping in mind that the messages in there were like, now looking back, if I was to rewrite Animal Dreaming, it would be a totally different book, because my relationship has changed so much. My relationship has grown so much with the animals that everything has like, if you want to, I always say, look, that's just the core essence of the message. You know, I could write a book just on elephants, for example, on the symbolism of elephants.
Yeah.
I could just write a book about that. That's how everything's grown. And it's not because I've figured it out. It's just the animals have taught me and I've remembered, and it's just years and years and years of accumulation and remembering and pieces splicing together, and it just doesn't, that's my brain. Animals is all I think about. So that's all.
What about like past life rememberings as well? Surely there's a lot of knowledge that you have that is impossible to just have learned in this current lifetime.
No, I swear. Well, put it this way, my team of animals that I work with, none of them are native to Australia. They're all from the UK, really, as tight as that. From the UK. So, and when I think about those animals, and I've had dreams of being there, and as a child, and I could draw the plan of the house that I grew up in this other life, and I think it's there that the animals really started to. Or I must have had a reason to be so aware of them in that life, and I think that's carried through, because I don't know. I can't explain why none of my totems are native to Australia. It's very strange, because I love being Australian. I'm so proud of. I love Australia, and I'm very proud to be Australian. Because of the
amazing
land and the animals. Yeah, but none of my totems, they're all from the UK. Not even Europe. Like, they're from that tight little pocket of land. It's hard to, so I don't know why that is. But past life, I would say, must have something to do with that, because
exactly. When I think about the ones that I believe, obviously I haven't had the pleasure of having a reading with you, but the ones that I believe, because I've had symbolic interactions with them, they're not Australian. One, I don't even actually know which big cat species it is. I don't know if it's jaguar, cheetah, or panther. I see her as him, them as because there's multiple sometimes. I see her, but the main one, I believe, has more of a feminine essence. I see her. The word that comes in whenever I'm showing her or she shows herself to me is jaguar. But she doesn't. When I look at jaguar on the images of jaguar on the internet, I'm like, that's not what I see.
That doesn't match.
I see a black cat.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, jaguars are. They
can be black. You can have exactly. I know that it's not, but you can have black jaguars. And then I was like, cheetah? No. And I was like, it more closely aligns to the appearance of panther. But when you say panther, do you mean leopard? No, like black. Like if you Google black panther, that's how I was like, well, she looks more like panther.
Panther's the folk name for jaguar. So you're seeing the jaguar for sure. And then, so there's only 3 spotted big cats that I'm aware of. Oh, well, there's only 3. The leopard, which includes the snow leopard, and then the other species of leopard, clouded leopard. They have spots. So clouded leopard spots are different to a regular leopard spots. So it is, sometimes people get a bit confused. Then there's a jaguar, and then there's the cheetah. So they're really, when you think about it, you haven't got too far to look. But when you say jaguar and then you say panther is often what people refer to the black jaguar as, the panther. But panther really is just a folk name. It's like a nickname for jaguar.
Yeah, because I've never seen any spots. It just looks like smooth, clear, solid black. But she has come to me multiple times in dreams, in meditations. There was one meditation where it was quite, I won't go into detail because it's quite woo-woo. I mean, people by now would have Ruth, she can be woo-woo. Yes, I totally embrace that. But it was definitely a past life memory, and it was intense. And the introduction to it was in I had asked to be shown memories from my past lives. And hello, I was shown one. I was walking down the street and
down what? So you're walking down where? Because
I
you,
was
you
just
broke
walking
up.
down a street. I was walking
Oh,
from my previous house to the post office and just walking along, and there was this vine going along the pathway. And I
a
walked through it,
vine.
a vine, like a
Yeah,
plant vine,
yeah.
and it went across my throat. And then I went home and then I looked at my neck and there was this big red line across my neck. I was like, oh, it's like someone slashed my throat. And then I remembered I asked to be shown memories from past lives. Is this a past life? And then I went to this event and called to be shown more information as part of this meditation. And what I saw was like insane.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm not going to share all that because, there's a separate thing.
Mm.
But one of the symbolisms from that was my, Jaguar / Panther ally. And there was a group though, but there was one who was a significant kind of like leader. And after she did a certain thing, her eyes turned this really bright blue, like almost the same blue as the color of my gorgeous angel cat Lily, who passed a year and a half ago, which is a whole other, she hadn't passed at that point, I don't think, but interesting. That's a whole other level of symbolism that I hadn't actually thought about, I don't think. But anyway, and so that was and then after that, that wasn't the first time that Jaguar appeared to me. But then after that, I walk in the forest, Jaguar shows up. I can sense, and sometimes it's like a lot of them. And then there was a dream where there was like jaguars, and then also wolf comes on a lot for me. And there was a dream where there was jaguars and wolves. And then one time I was in my meditation room in my previous house, just lying on my Reiki table, doing meditation or whatever. And then it was like, there was a wolf walking down my hallway. And whenever I tell this story to people, they're like, you saw a wolf in your house? I'm like, no, man. It was, a vision. It was like I was meditating and it just came through. That's what I saw. And it wasn't like a scary wolf. It was just dum, 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 dum. And then that was also at a period where I was drawing what I saw. And so I have this beautiful drawing of me, and I was going to get it out to show you. Anyway, I'll describe it. I called it The Journey. And it's a path behind me, and at the front of the drawing is me, or me in whatever kind of, not necessarily me today, but symbol of me, with the jaguar on one side and the wolf on the other side. Oh, it just, So anyway, I just had to share that with you.
Yes. I was actually totally enthralled in the story, and I was just like,
no, right? Well, and I haven't even, maybe we'll tell you off the call, but I haven't even, of this chat, but I haven't even told, like, you would be like enthralled by what I was shown, that whole event, because there's so much symbolism in it. Like, oh my gosh. Basically it involved death, sacrifice to Mother Earth, blood drinking by the jaguars, and then the main jaguar's eyes turned blue after drinking my blood, and then I rose, and then off we went, and I was considered to be the lady of the jaguars.
Well, did you just say that the eyes of the jaguars turn blue?
Yeah, like really bright, like your picture behind you.
Yeah,
really kind of like the hue between the deep and the really bright blue in the center.
Well, I find that very interesting, because as a child I was followed by, and I was followed everywhere I went by just a regular black cat, like everywhere I went. And I would see it at school, I'd see it when I was in the shower, I'd be looking through the frosted glass screen and I could see it sitting on the vanity, and we didn't have a cat. So as a kid, this cat just followed me. And when I spoke to my parents about it, they would sort of like, oh, there's a cat, is there? Never really asked any questions, and I just thought, okay, maybe everyone could see that cat, but even though we don't have a cat, I don't know whose cat that is. But I also, everywhere I went, like when I say everywhere I went, it wasn't with me constant like the cat, but I could be like at a friend's house, or I might be walking the dog or something, and then I'd see this jaguar. Now, this jaguar looks like, the black jaguar, but it had the crystal blue eyes. Oh, and wow. It did. And anyway, so for years I saw this jaguar, and and I've spoken about this and I've written about it in my, it's in my course even. I talk about this jaguar a lot because it really blew my mind, because as an adult, well, I was a young adult, but I was still an adult, I was sitting in my friend's teepee. She had this massive teepee, and sitting in there, and the jaguar was there, and I looked at him, and I suddenly, and maybe up until that moment I hadn't noticed, or maybe up until that moment its eyes weren't blue, I don't know. It's like I noticed for the very, very first time that jaguar had crystal blue eyes, and it was up until then I hadn't really taken much notice, but this jaguar, it followed me a lot over the years. Anyway, this jaguar, I looked at it, and it dawned on me, jaguars don't have blue eyes. So I said, "Who are you?" Not like, which was really weird, because normally I'd be like, "What are you?" And if you're not what I think you are, you can get out.
Yeah.
And I would have said that.
Yeah.
But anyway, he just looked at me and he said, "You might know me as Michael."
Not.
So. Yes, and so
we don't even have to speak words. We understand each other. The audience.
Yeah, well, no, because he said, "You might know me as Michael," and he meant obviously Archangel Michael, but and I was like, "Oh, whatever," because
Archangel Michael's visiting me in the form of a cat.
Yeah, and also back then, I hadn't put any effort into trying to work out who was what or what was who or how that could possibly be, and to me, angels, because of my childhood and all the things that I'd encountered, sort of. It's like God. I was sort of angry at God, so I was angry at anything that had anything to do with God.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever, just if this is some sort of
Archangel.
I'm not interested. I don't want whatever you're selling. I'm not buying it. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But he meant what he said, and then so I thought about this for a long, long time, and he sort of stayed away for ages. But then I met a friend who was heavily into the angels, and she sort of started talking to me about what they did and what their roles were, and she sort of spoke about Michael and this colour, this blue colour, and instantly he was there, and he had the blue eyes. I knew exactly he was telling me the truth, because his eyes were the same colour as what she was talking about. And I said, "So what? Where's the 6-pack and sword? He's where's that?"
Michael,
yeah, but I didn't really say that. But it was more, I questioned him, surely that's not. But anyway, so it's very interesting that you talk, because most people don't talk about jaguars. They talk about the golden eyes or the orange eyes instead.
They were the blue eyes.
Very interesting.
Like the colour of my denim jacket in my branding photo. My photo that I use.
Yeah, that's almost, but that in a almost translucent, like the beautiful clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my beautiful blue-eyed cat. Can't see it. She's all over my website, but
it's stunning. The blue eyes against that pale grey are very, very, very handsome.
Yeah, the colours, the magic of the colours, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, so much symbolism in that, right? Because you bring up, the colour of, because all the archangels have different colours, and some of them have the same colours or different shades of the same colours. Sure. But then you've also got the symbolism of the chakras, obviously the blue being the throat chakra. And then you've got, and this would come through with the animals as well. Like if you think about birds with the beautiful
the colours of the feathers.
What are other things that blue symbolises?
Communication, peace, calm. To me, it represents tranquility and stillness But communication is the main one. Clear communication, like untainted, like a clear blue sky with no clouds. That sort of blue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the sky is hugely, hugely symbolic too. So you mentioned about your angel cat. What about the your bio? You talk about this menagerie of animals. Who are they?
Yes, I need to fix my website, because. After I had an eye accident, a rock hit me in the eye, and I had years of surgery and recovery. So unfortunately, one of the first things that went was our 5-acre farm, and the animals that we had. They all went to the one place. They all went together. All of my animals: the camel, the donkey, the ponies, the alpacas, the rabbits, the chickens, the ducks, the geese. They all went with this one man. So I don't have don't have the menagerie anymore, but we have an old miniature poodle and a cat. That's it right now.
Yeah.
But I have, I feel sometimes like I can't breathe because I don't have the animals. Emotional.
You've lost your oxygen source.
Yeah, sorry. Oh,
it's all right. Breathe.
Oh,
Take
yeah, I really So I've turned to other areas of nature, like plants and gardens. But I'm building a garden, and the animals do come. Like we had a water dragon trying to get in through our lounge room window the other day, and we've had quail in the garden, and we've had hawks land on the fence. We've had there's black swans that fly over often because we've got a wetlands not far from here. So it's but yeah, we don't live in the Northern Rivers anymore. We live in the Moreton Bay Shire of Queensland now. So it's a totally different world here. Yeah, we see so many different animals here. Yeah.
Well, this is a new opportunity for you to see not embrace, but to see new animals and to experience new animals.
And I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Absolutely thoroughly enjoying it.
Totally next part of
Yeah. Well, see, we moved up from the Yarra Valley in Victoria, where we lived on land out there in the forest. So we moved from lyrebirds and catbirds and and bowerbirds and deer, for goodness sake, and kangaroos and powerful owls. We moved from that area to the Byron area, or the inland Byron inland from Byron area, and there we had kukels and pythons and water dragons and all these other. So it was a total my mind, like I had to readjust because everything that was familiar and everything that I knew I could look to for protection or guidance. There's no wombats up here, for example. We don't have wombats, where I'm used to working with them down there, So now that we've moved here,
got new guys.
Similar, but now we've got, curlews and tree frogs and all sorts of things that we didn't have when we were living. I mean, there were tree frogs, but not at our place, and quail in the garden, for goodness sake. Like, everything's changed again. So I really do feel like the land has come forward to introduce itself, to let me know, who my new friends are and what the guardians of this land want me to know, and so how to tread gently on the earth here. You know what I mean? They've shown me the language of this land. Yeah.
Well, welcome to Queensland and all of her beautiful animals.
Yeah. Weirdly, I grew up in this area and I didn't remember until I got here and I started to recognise street signs, and I remembered the name of my primary school, and there it was right there. It was so weird. But anyway, so I'd lived here as a child, but
so revisiting memories. It's like me telling you, one of my jaguar stories and what that has brought up for you. It's like,
that's right.
There's symbolism everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere. You just got to not even know where to look. You just got to know what to look for.
But I always say, like, just the constant observer.
That's right. Because there's symbolism in everything.
Exactly.
And people think it's really difficult to see symbols, but they're actually everywhere. And it's the placement of two things together that are normal and ordinary, but when you place them together, that becomes different and grabs your eye. So that's the symbolic. That's the symbol to look for.
I have I'll share it later, but I have a tawny frogmouth symbol story to share, which you're going to love. Like, I got a lot of stories, even though I'm the host, right? Not the guest. Hello.
I'm happy to talk about you. I'm happy to talk to you about your tawny frogmouth.
You'll love it. It's very symbolic, but it will also demonstrate to, our listeners and our watchers that this is how the symbols show up in your life. And it takes practice to be a symbol identifier.
But you know that I think it's quite it takes time. It takes a lot of practice and dedication to that need. But I just tell people, if you want to know what Mother Earth wants you to know, you just go out and sit on the lawn or take your shoes off and stand in the grass and feel the coolness of the earth and allow yourself to feel centered enough to ask, what do I need to know? And she'll send you the animals. She'll send you animals that you might think, gosh, I've never noticed that before.
Yeah,
But like, it'll be. After you tell me your story, I'll tell you one of my stories, and I'll just
Right. Well, before we get into storytelling,
okay.
Even though we have done some storytelling, how did you come to do this work? Like, what was your inspiration?
Well,
obviously the animals were your inspiration, but
No, none of that was, to be honest. I didn't mean to do this at all. This is not something I woke up one morning and thought, this is what I'm going to do. My ability, my need to be observant came from my own personal safety, to be honest. I had quite an abusive childhood, quite neglectful. I did not know up from down. So I didn't, and I'm not going to go into detail because it's not about that, but it was in that need to feel safe, because home was not a safe place for me. And, because home wasn't a safe place, I didn't have and it started, this chapter of my life started when I was quite young. So I didn't have the skills or the knowledge, social skills even, to be able to find my way. So I was a very quiet, withdrawn person. I found it difficult to express myself. But the one thing, as I said to I've said this many, many times, the one thing that was consistent in my life was the animals. And so because inside wasn't safe, I'd spend most of my time outside. And it was while I was in that space, I just started to, and I think the animals became like a distraction from so if I could focus on the animals, I could almost detach from what was actually happening in my life. And they took me places. They showed me things. I watched and observed. And for example, it was the spiders at the age of about 7 or 8. The spiders told me, you are going to have to get to the point where you reweave your life web. Yeah. They told me that, but purely by demonstrating reweaving their own webs every morning. I'd be out there the same time every day, and I'd watch them pull their webs apart from the night before, and I'd watch them reweave them, and they would slightly alter the angle until they got it just right, and then the bugs would fly into their web. If they were missing the web, the web was done. It wasn't working. But it took me a while to notice that that's what they were doing, and I realised that web is my life, and I need to be responsible for my own life. So I started to reweave my life at the age of 7. Like, I kid you not, I started making decisions to be a stronger person. And as I got older, I put them into practice. Like, I could never look people in the eye, for example. So that was one of the things I did to reweave my life web, was to practice looking people in the eye, because I knew that they trusted me more if I did that. Yeah. As a kid, that was terribly important. So the inspiration came from need, and it came from my own sense of lack. So it wasn't because I loved animals. I mean, I did love animals, but that's not what prompted this. It wasn't I say all this, right, but at the age of 5, this is, I don't, like, why don't I talk about this more? I've written about it, I've talked about it, but not, like, I was visited by a very, very tall being when I was 5. And talking about that now even feels weird. I found myself outside in our cubby house, in my cubby, my sister in my cubby house. It was nighttime. I was in summer pajamas, so like lightweight pajamas, with little shorts. I was only like 5 or 6. I was very, very small. Yeah. And I was standing in the cubby house, and this very, very tall, skinny, white being was talking to me and telling me stuff about the future, what was going to unfold. I have no conscious memory of any of this, by the way, growing up. Him I did. I remembered him, but I couldn't place where he was. I couldn't place where I'd seen him. Anyways, he told me about what my role would be and what I'd have to do, and that was to remind people how important the earth was to us. That's basically what it was as a kid. And I used to tell everyone, don't drop the rubbish because you don't want to upset Mother Earth. I used to say things like that. And I always bring home injured animals because I wanted to protect them. And if there was a kid at school who was in trouble, I'd sit with them, and even if they didn't want me to, so I was always trying to help. But I had this knowing that I had to be service to the Earth Mother, and I didn't know how to do that. So when I say it came about because of need, I think the answer to your question is because the white giant told me I had to. So that's where it came from, really. But I know that sounds very out there and very weird. It does even feel weird talking about it, but because I want everyone to think that I'm this practical, down-to-earth guy who just, the animals told me, but there is probably more to it than that. But I know that sounds very odd, but that is it in a nutshell. And I wake up in the morning, by the way, back in bed, and I thought I dreamt it because I couldn't reach the lock to undo the door to get out there, so I don't know how I would have got outside. Anyway, I had dirt on my legs, so I knew that I'd been outside, but I didn't. Yeah. So I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, you see that in, again, like TV shows, movies, like Hello, E.T., right?
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Well, he didn't look like he just looked really, really tall, very, very thin, and very like white. Like everything about he was just not white skinned. He was like white. Yeah.
Must have been scary for a fight.
Well, I don't remember feeling scared. I just remember standing there, just staring. Really, I don't know how I got I don't know how I got into the cubby house. Even I don't know how that happened. I must have walked there, but I don't know how.
You don't know how. Yeah. Dream time, sleep time.
I don't know.
So that's how you arrived at this work, or came to, or started on this journey, Mother Earth.
Well, she gave me lessons. Because I've always consciously asked her for help because I couldn't rely on my own mother. I couldn't rely on my own father. There was no guidance there at all. So I didn't, and because of the damage that I'd experienced, I didn't trust too many people. So I guess I found myself literally sitting outside with my guinea pigs or whatever and just saying, what do I do? Why is this happening? What do I need to do? And I just, look, I've always been surrounded by animals. I could go anywhere and I'll see them. They're always there. And so I guess back then I started to, but look, there was an accident as well where these two boys were like brothers to me, were killed in a car accident, and I went looking for them spiritually. That's what put me on the path, consciously thinking I'm going to follow these animals. I'm going to follow this path to see where it leads me. And it was after that I met a woman who had trained under many different elders in many different parts of the world, and she it was like an apprenticeship. We've spoken about it many years after. I spent pretty much every day for 2 years working with her and talking to me about earth medicine and the old ways and the traditional ways and the cultural ways, because she's worked with elders from all over the world. So it's like a mishmash of everything. But just not teaching me, but just talking. And then she would give me something to read or whatever, or I'd sit and study that, or she'd give me some tasks to do. And that's how it sort of all fell into place. But the animals, she never taught me about the animals. I realized that myself.
Yeah.
And she rings me for animal advice sometimes. It's not now. She's now just my friend. I still revere her as my elder, but we don't have that same relationship anymore. She's just my friend now. But so I guess in a nutshell, all those answers are the answer to your question, because I don't know when, I don't know how. It just
all kind of intersects.
So one day made sense, and I knew what I had to do with it.
Yeah, cool story, and really interesting experiences as well. That unique experiences.
Yeah, well, sometimes some of them scary, but some of them are fun. But all came together as one story.
Yeah, and now you get to do this amazing work, which is Speaking of the work, like you talk about, obviously, the symbolism of animals, and then there's spirit animals and animal totems, and there's slight differences between the two as far as my understanding goes, and then there's subsets
in my world. It doesn't. This is not a universal truth. Like this is how it works for me, and this is what the
So what's a spirit animal and what's an animal totem?
Right. So a spirit animal basically could be like a messenger, basically, something that comes into your life in response to a question you might have asked. You might associate that spirit animal with a loved one in spirit, for example. Like, you know what I mean? They're sort of like, they're just messengers that come into your life for a certain purpose. A totem is more like a part of a team. They're part of your team, and they're like guides, I guess, spirit guides, but they sort of are more than that in a way, because they also mark, or they hold space for certain aspects of your life. So a totem, I've got a totem for the land that I live on. There's a totem that represents that, not just for me. There's also a totem for the people who lived here before me. The first people, they have totems that represent the land and their connection to the land, their sense of belonging. So they've got a totem of their clan. You know what I mean? So I've got, to me, a totem is like it's an energy form, I guess, or an image or a symbol that represents different qualities. They're like archetypes as well. So I could have, I've got a teacher archetype, but I also have a totem that reflects that same archetype. So does that make sense? So they're like a team. So a spirit animal is like a messenger. A totem is like an archetype, and a power animal, to me, this is me and what I was shown by the animals and also my elders that I've worked with over the years. Power animal is just that. It's an energy that gives you power. And I don't mean control. When I say power, I don't mean power and control, because I'm not that person. But power to me means knowledge and wisdom. So and for me, the best way to describe that energy for me, because I know exactly who my power animal is and what it looks like as an animal, in that form. I've met it in other forms as well, but it's like the animal that gives me power is like my soul essence. If I was to externalize my soul essence, not my soul, my essence of my soul, and have it walk beside me, that would be my power animal, because it's the animal that reflects me in all ways. And I don't know why we find ourselves drawn to certain animals, for favourite animals we love. But your power animal is often an animal that you wouldn't have necessarily chosen yourself. And mine is the barn owl, and I have not any old owl, it's specifically the barn owl, and I have no idea why it's the barn owl, except I do find them, I just think they're one of the most beautiful birds on the planet, and I'm not sure whether I think that because it's my power animal or because, or you know what I'm saying, I don't really know, but if I had chosen my power animal, I don't know if I would have chosen the barn owl. So to me, that's the difference, and that's me.
Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah.
Ever wish mealtime could be more exciting and nutritious for your pet? Let me tell you about Frontier Pets' new whole food nutritional boosters, a game changer for fussy eaters and anyone looking to boost their pet's health. These vet-developed freeze-dried raw boosters come in 3 delicious varieties: super greens, free-range beef organs, and free-range green tripe. That'll not only enhance your pet's meal with natural flavors, but also add vibrant color and texture to every bowl. With every sprinkle, you'll be giving your dog and cat an all-natural nutrition upgrade while supporting their gut health and overall well-being. So why not add a dash of flavor and excitement to your pet's meals? Find Frontier Pets whole food nutritional boosters at frontierpets.com.au and give your pet the boost they deserve. And the sooner the better, because they're currently offering a special introductory discount. Let's get back to the show.
So let's do some other examples then. If we think about my jaguars and my wolves, would they be more like messengers, totems, or?
Well, as far as your power animal goes, the only person who can really confirm that is you.
No, yeah. I'm not asking for you to like.
No. No, I know what you're saying. No, I'm not. And I'm not trying.
How they showed up.
I'm not trying to, but yeah. So so when I'm talking to people or working with people, I very, 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 very rarely see their power animal straight up. Normally, I see a couple of archetypes, like the totems that show me about their personality and their traits and what they like, what they don't like. That might explain why some people, for example, don't look you in the eye when they're talking or whatever. So there's all these different, so that's what I look to for first and foremost. And power animals are usually like based on really personal experiences or things that you've grown up. Like, for example, being born into this world for me was doomed from the start because of the reasons why my mother and father got married, for example. There was no, all those sorts. So owl to me is a symbol of protection because she is a silent flyer. You don't know when she's coming. You don't know when she's about until you feel her talons in your back. So to me, because I've had talons in the back, I've experienced true deception. I've experienced true grief and loss, and I love surprises, but I don't like being surprised. So all those sorts of, so all that energy, all that knowing was put together as the barn owl, because the barn owl does all those things. She's the one. She can see in the dark. She can tell when someone's giving me a false smile. She's white, so she also talks about the spirit world and ghosts and entities and all sorts of other things. So as a child, I wasn't surprised to see that white giant because of her. She told me instantly. I knew that this was something that was okay. And you don't have to like it, but you can if you just wait, you'll understand. But not in a creepy, horrible, punishing or detrimental way. Okay, so when I see someone, I very rarely get to see that deeply into them first of all, because quite frankly, it doesn't matter to me. It's none of my business. It's too much information. But to see archetypes straight up, I know enough about someone to know what they're up to or where they're heading or what they need to know for this moment. So I live very much with my spirit connection, very much in the now. So if I meet someone, I might see a snow leopard with them, or I might see, an Arctic wolf, or I might see, like a red squirrel or something. The next time I see them, I might not.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that was their as a power animal or a spirit guide that I was seeing. It was an archetype or a representation where they were at that moment, or what was going on in their life in those couple of months that was representing or whatever. So I've had to take a lot of practice and internal work to try and work out how that is. But, when I sit with someone long enough and they allow me that time to really get to see who they are, then the power animals and all that starts to step forward, and I get a true essence, a lock on their true essence, and
I love that.
Yeah, so it is different to regular animal communication, as you can understand. But
I guess I was just trying to show, like, say, not analyze who are my animals, right? But more how they showed up. Would that be more representative of?
There'll be a reason why they're there.
Animal spirit or a totem or a power. So, for example, the way that the jaguar and wolf came to me in my kind of like mind's eye versus seeing the tawny, the tawny frogmouth story, where there was a period of time where there was a pattern, and I saw.
So tell me about that then. Tell me about the tawny frogmouth.
The tawny, I can't remember which came first of the sightings, but they were around my house, my previous house where I lived. And then I went to see a friend one day, and I was driving home at night on a very dark road. And right in the middle of the road, I could see that there was a creature there. And I stopped, and it was like out of a movie. It was like dark road, lady stops, and and I'm like, go away.
Catch the headlights, catch the reflection of eyes glaring back at me in the darkness.
So I get out of the car and I walk towards the form, the shape, and I see it's a tawny frogmouth. And I'm like, what are you doing in the middle of the road? You can't stay there. You'll be run over. And he was just goggle-eyeing me. He wouldn't move. And then I called my friend, I can't get this tawny frogmouth. She didn't even know what a tawny frogmouth was. I'm like, if you're in Australia, how do you know what a tawny? She thought I meant like a toad.
Yeah.
No, tawny frogmouth. It's like an owl, but it's not an owl. Owl family, but it's Australian. Anyway, so she comes. We end up. He's obviously injured. He couldn't move, and
I've been stunned.
when he did move, you could see that he was injured because he couldn't take flight.
Yeah.
So we managed to get him into a box, and then I drove him to the emergency vet. But unfortunately, they said they weren't able to save him. And I can't remember. I did give him a name. I'm like, you shouldn't give him a name. I'm like, I don't care. I'm giving him a name. So I was talking to him in the car on the way and sending him some healing energies to calm him down and stuff. But unfortunately, he didn't make it. But then there was another occasion. Again, I don't know the order sequence of appearances, but there was another occasion where a tawny frogmouth literally came and sat on. Oh no, the first occasion just came and sat on my deck balustrade. Then I think it might have been the road incident. And then there was another incident where this tawny frogmouth I was at home and he was being chased by minor birds. And I'm like, oi, leave him alone. And he came and sat. This is in the middle of the day, like it wasn't nighttime. He came and sat on my deck balustrading. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I've literally oh no, there was another instance of tawny frogmouth. Oh my God. Anyway, and then he flew into the tree, and I just went outside then and just was basically guarding him from these bloody minor birds that were trying to. I'm like, just let him be, leave him alone. And then the other occasion was this was earlier on. I think this was the first encounter. I came home one night. And on the fence pole was this tawny frogmouth, and literally just sat there staring at me. So that's my tawny frogmouth story. But it's like that kind of, as an example, is that more of like?
Well, to me, she is a someone. To me, she's more like she's a totem, but more of like a totem of an ancestor or someone who is watching over you at this time. Does that make sense? Like a form, and the elephant in the background is the same. Yeah, in the background,
what does Scott say about tawny frogmouth?
Well, it's the elder, and because there's silver, the grey feathers is linked to the silver hair, and the reason for all that is because I associated them with that energy as a kid. Because anyway, long story, but it comes down to the fact that she and the multiple visitations, and the fact that she always appears at crucial times, like really unusual ways, like to you, like not.
Yeah.
You're not just walking the dog down the street and there's one sitting in a tree. Like she's really made a point of you seeing. So did you know? Like my wife's grandmother is 96, so she's still alive. So is your grandmother still alive?
They're both passed.
They're both passed. So they
hadn't at the time of the sightings. Maybe one had already passed, but the other one hadn't.
So, and your mum's mum?
Father's mum.
So your mum's mum is still here?
No, she has passed.
She's the one.
That was after the sightings.
Yeah. Well, anyway, to me, it can often represent the grandmother spirit or the spirit. So in amongst totems and power animals, and I said totems before, there's a specific type of totem called a psychopomp. And these totems, they are the essence or like a totemic representation of someone in spirit. So my wife's mother passed, and her mum's still alive, but her grandmother's still alive, but her mother passed. And we all wanted to know where she was because we'd missed her and we'd moved house, and so I asked her to show me who she was now. Like I said, I need to know what you look like now. And we'd never had blue wrens in our garden before. We had in Victoria, but not up here. And within 2 or 3 days, there was blue wrens. There was a male and about 5 girls and his little harem, and are in the garden. And we noticed that every time we thought of her or spoke of her, the blue wrens would be there. And even if we weren't home, we might be talking about her, and then someone might offer to make us a cup of tea, and they'd bring it out with a in a cup or a mug with a blue wren on the side. So we started to see the pattern. And so my mother-in-law's psychopomp is the blue wren, because when I need help or I want to connect with her, I'll call on the energy of the blue wren, knowing that she's going to, or vice versa. I'll ask her, and then the blue wren will show to let me know she's there. I would suspect strongly that your grandmother is showing itself to you at these crucial times as a tawny. So when you think about why would she land, and it's not that she suddenly transforms into a tawny. It's not that the tawny is suddenly possessed by the spirit of your grandmother. It's more that the tawny will be sitting up in a tree and have this really strong urge. I mean, the one that was in the middle of the road was hit because they were probably hunting, and because they were focusing on the sound and where the food was. All sorts of reasons could lead it to being there. But just imagine if it was fine and had flown away. The tawny in the tree has this really overwhelming urge, and without any question, to fly down and sit there. And it's not that the tawny was wanting to tell you something, but your grandmother was, I'm just using this as an example.
Through the...
So she talks about experience. So she'll come to you when it's an ancestral thing that this is tawny in general, that will come to you when there's knowledge in the obvious. So people spend their whole life looking for what their medicine might be, what their message is, or what their gift is, and very rarely do they look at their own heritage or their own background or what their grandmother might have done. And so I would suspect that your grandmother was, just like you, was able to see between the worlds, or was able to communicate with other species, not just animals, but I'm sure she probably had a fascination for plants. Might not have been in the same position as her daughter, for example, or you particularly, to practice those skills in a way that was safe or that she wouldn't be ridiculed. So anyway, maybe she had it but never practiced it, but here she is working through you. And always at crucial times you'll see the tawny, and it's like a stop, pay attention, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what's going on, what was just said to you at that time, because owl is all about, she's not an owl, she's a nightjar, or not even a true nightjar, she's a member of the nightjar family. But, so what were you thinking about when you what was the last conversation you had before seeing the tawny? What were you thinking about at that crucial moment when you experienced the tawny? What was going through your mind? That's where you find the answers to why they're there.
Well, the one in the road, I'd just been helping my friend with her meditation training. She needed to practice on someone. So we were obviously talking about all things spiritual and meditation.
But who's to say that just up the road something unsafe was happening and you were, what I'm saying? So she might have even physically come to stop you from moving forward.
Well, exactly. Yeah. We need to keep her here for about an hour because there's crazy.
That's right. And you had to call your friend and they had to come and help. And you just don't know the bigger picture. And if you'd left it just that one experience, you think, okay, that's what it was about. But then when you start to see the pattern of other times when she's come in a really unusual way.
Yeah, like on my deck in the middle of the day. It was like, that's weird.
And why your deck and not the neighbour's deck? So anyway, these are all the things that I would look at. Yeah, exactly.
Literally at my front entrance to my house. Like,
that's right. Protection. So when they're like that, as like literally, in a, you had to drive past them to get into your own house, for goodness sake, So when it's moments like that too, there's. I know it sounds really odd, but 9 times out of 10, there'll be some connection to someone in spirit who's there as a guardian, as watching, protecting. And they probably, the sort of energy that would have checked to make sure you were sleeping soundly, before going to bed themselves, that sort of energy. So I've had people say, but I've had people who have come and said, there was a fox standing at our gate and would not move even when we drove past. I've had people say that they were driving down their driveway and a deer ran past on their property, on the inside of the property. I've had other people say hares. And whenever I talk about who that might be, there's usually a connection to an anniversary or a conversation that was just had, and so they'll get proof that that was a someone. But they're psychopomps. Those sort of spirits are psychopomps in there. I've written about them in my Afterworld book, but there's a long connection between animals appearing to us. I mean, there's so many stories of animals of the underworld, all those old beautiful stories of going on all these quests and the animals appearing in unusual ways to guide and to, inspire or to shift direction. Even in Harry Potter, for goodness sake, there's animals there. But they represented the energy of the person that they were being emitted from. What they called them, out of the wands.
And what's
it's a lifetime of looking and noticing and remembering and researching and getting a little hint of something and following it and finding where it leads.
Yeah. And
what were you going to say?
I was going to say something. What's the for those of you who are thinking, and we haven't even talked about your offerings yet, but for those of you who are thinking about, oh my gosh, because this is the way I'm thinking, I need to book a session with Scott because I want to know who my power animal is, or I want to know. What's the significance? How does it change your life? Does it change your life by knowing who your power animal is, or who you told?
Well, I'm going to ask you. You talk about your own experiences there. When you realise that the Tawny was working with you, you can't have not have felt a little bit, and I don't mean this in an egotistical way, but you must have felt seen. You must have felt different. You must have felt a little bit like, I've got a little bit something there, a little bit special. To know that you've got a wolf, for goodness sake, which to me is the epitome of the masculine. To me, the wolf is a masculine energy. To other people, it might be feminine, but to me, it's a masculine energy. And the jaguar, to me, is deeply feminine. Even if it's a guy, it's a deeply feminine. All cats, to me, have a femininity that just drips from them. And and like the dog energy of what wolf. He's not a dog, he's a wolf, but it's that same canine, even though, anyway, long story, I'm not going to go to genetics. But
not a dog evolution.
Yeah, but it's that whole yin and yang. You've got this perfect yin-yang, if you like. One talks about, which is the jaguar, total integrity, talks about impeccability. The impeccable warrior knows in their heart, which is you have to have a quality, this aspect of you, where you're human, so you can lie to whoever you want. This is the jaguar saying, this is what the jaguar taught me, is you can lie to whoever you want, and with no judgment, and you can eat what you want, you can smoke what you want, you can drink what you want, you can be with whoever you want, as long as no harm comes to anyone else, you can do whatever you like. But the one thing the jaguar says you can't do is lie to yourself.
Yes.
And she's always there to remind you, don't forget, integrity must come first, impeccability. So there's that one part of you, the jaguar. And on the other side, you've got the wolf. It's not afraid to push the boundaries. The wolf is not afraid to trick and to lie and maneuver his way into a situation. That's what the wily wolf, they've got this whole 3 little pig thing, the story of the 3 little pigs and the 7 little goats, like Little Red Riding Hood. That was a wolf.
Yeah.
So the wolf is noble, he's strong, he's proud, but he teaches by example, and he's also an animal that says, there's boundaries, there's restrictions, there's rules, there's levels of understanding, there's hierarchy, all that sort of stuff in there. But the wolf, if he has to do something to provide for his family, he'll do it.
Yeah.
He's not a dog. He's not about loyalty. He's not about unconditional love. He's not about all those things. It's about the lessons that come from life experience. So you've got this one that's prepared to take. You've got the polar opposites working with you there. So you have to look at those 2 animals sometimes. I think, freaking hell, I'm lucky to have them.
I love them. I love them. There's just their energy is so powerful and just ancient and wise and
primal and true as well.
Primal. And it's just like, I have these really strong guides backing me up.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's because I bet you anything, your life experiences have called upon that, have needed that, have required that to get you through, to keep your head above water sometimes. You've had to make big decisions. You've had to maybe do things that in the past, or if not you, your mother, and if not your mother, her mother, have had to do things that compromise their own set of core beliefs or whatever to get something done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
In my work, actually, like I work with businesses as well as pet parents. Like I help them formulate for them, pet foods and supplements and things like that. And I don't eat animals myself. And yet, I'm telling people to feed their animals, and I'm working with businesses who are creating foods that have animals in. But there's one animal that I will turn thousands of dollars away because I cannot help you create a product that has this particular animal, and I just can't. And it's the kangaroo.
Yeah,
and the reason why it's the kangaroo is because a previous job I had in an animal protection organization, that was one of our core focus areas, was the kangaroo industry. So I learned a hell of a lot about what goes on in kangaroo meat, in quotation marks. So I don't see an animal as meat per se, but
I know what you mean. Yep.
So I know a lot. I know what most people will just follow and believe what the kangaroo industry tells them. And I see it all the time. People creating foods, and it's like, it's organic and it's bloody blah and it's a sustainable. I'm like, I call BS on you because I know what really happens in that industry. I've seen it. I've debated with the head guy of the industry, like in public. And so it's like, I kind of say, I know too much. And if I was to help you create a pet food that had kangaroo in, it would be deeply going against what I value in my heart. And I would feel like I was sacrificing my soul, and I would not be able to sleep at night, and no amount of money will be able to compensate for that. And I have them in my back garden, like cliche Australian, So, yeah.
It's like people, and it's the same thing though when people say, and I don't want to go into a debate about meat or meat eating or being or a vegetarian or vegan. This is not about that, but
no.
But what I do find, I've always found fascinating, it's okay for us to eat these group of animals, like chickens, pigs, and cows, but it's not okay to eat dolphins, dogs, and and horses, for example. Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Why are these ones okay and these ones are not? I don't understand. I've often wondered that. Like, why do we have this real big response when we see, like, we might see a dead wombat on the side of the road and think, oh, that's a shame, it's a dead wombat. Or did you see that dead fox? Like, oh, the only good fox is a dead fox. But then you drive along and you see a golden retriever that's been hit on the side of the road, and the whole world stops and cries with you. I mean, like, what's with that? And I've often found that those relationships and the way we look at certain animals, and I have to put it down to the fact that they are deeply connected to us, and their essence is what guides us. Or there's this ancient association with the dolphin, for example, and maybe our own ability to breathe, and the dog and its companionship and community. There's certain things that bind us to these animals.
There's also a programming element to it, though, or a conditioning element in that, well, these animals are bred to be eaten, these are not. But, in
our country, in our culture.
Exactly. It's like, I talk about, here, you couldn't do this to this particular animal, whereas we react to what happens to the dolphins in Taiji with absolute outrage, and it's like, well, they're all animals. They're all the same. They're all living, breathing, and sentient beings, but we have these kind of mindsets around, well, we eat those animals, we live with those animals, and we go and see those animals in the zoo or whatever, personal lives, different things, whatever. But, there is that element, I agree with you, there is that element of this deep soul connection with certain animals. But then there is also that programming, or that conditioning that can kind of like lead to this certain mindset around, we eat this one, we don't eat that one. But that's a whole...
It's weird. I know, it's just it's always fascinated me why you can like
There's a
do
whole
it like a
psychology.
scale, yeah, of
Yeah.
okay, that one's okay, that one's not, that one's okay, that one's not, yeah.
Yeah. It's the dogs and cats have really great marketing team.
That's exactly right.
Coming back to animal symbolism. Now, Scott, your feather workshop, can people still like access that, or was that kind of like you can only access if you
Yeah,
register?
that's there is a link. Yeah, there is a link, but it's not.
I mean,
You can't access it anywhere, I guess.
Yeah.
It's going to be on my. I'm going to put it on my. I'm going to put it on YouTube, so it will be available on YouTube.
Cool.
You'll be able to find it there. It's not available yet, but it will be on YouTube.
That's like by the time I'll link to that, because one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was the symbolism. Still sticking to symbolism, the symbolism of feathers. And Scott ran this workshop just literally on Sunday, and it was so interesting to see the way that you would look at a feather, you see the bird, but then you interpret particular meanings shown by that feather. And I have to, because I wasn't able to attend live because I was in a training.
Yes.
I'm just going to grab a feather.
Yeah, grab it. Yeah.
Oh, actually, there's two recent ones. So what
was that? What is that? Because I've been sitting here looking at that other one.
I know. This is it's very old. It's from my previous house. I think you looked at one like this.
Yeah, that looks like a peacock feather to me.
Peacock?
I know. You think how? Where did you find that feather?
Where I used to live in Malula Valley.
Is it where?
Malula Valley, which is Sunshine Coast, hinterland, but it's further down towards.
You know what? It's probably one of these.
It's not a boo-boo?
No, it's like from the same bird as this one, perhaps. Although mine looks a bit blurrier than yours.
The end is very dirty.
I grabbed the wrong feather. How embarrassing.
Okay.
That's not there. I think it's either, it could be a cuckoo feather. If you're from
cuckoo.
The pheasant cuckoo,
I think it is more of a ground-dwelling bird, and it has a really long tail.
Well, the pheasant cuckoos, they are a member of the cuckoo family, but they often you'll see them on the ground scurrying, or when they do fly, they fly low.
Yes. Yeah.
But what did you think it might have been? A boobook?
Yeah, it's only because when you did the workshop the other day,
it's a bit big, I think.
Someone shared. I was like, "Oh, is that the same as mine?" But then I was like, "No, because I remember seeing the birds around, and they were mostly on the ground, and they had these big, long, like tails."
Yeah, they have a.
That's an old one.
Yeah, because I've got. See, this is from the same bird, the same cuckoo, but this is a tail, one of the tail feathers, so it's quite dark, but they're stripy like that. Peacocks do have wing feathers like that. They have
beautiful.
They have there's like 3 blocks of colour in a peacock's wing, and the stripy feathers like that are they're the second, in the middle section of their wing. But cuckoo to me is a messenger, if you like, that basically she heralds change. There
was lots of change happening at that time.
Yeah, and she gives you, because birds are not like us, like we're mammals, and I spoke about this in the feather workshop. Birds are of the air element, they're not of the earth element. We're mammals, we're of the earth element, and so we're all about our emotions. What feels right. We don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to upset anyone. We often bite our tongue to keep the peace, all that sort of stuff. Nurturing, protecting. Birds, on the other hand, because they're of the air element, and we shed tears and we show emotions and we worry and we fret. Birds, they don't do any of those things.
Yeah.
Birds, because they're ruled by the air element, they're able to, and they can fly. Not all birds can fly, but they're all birds. So birds, when they fly, they lift us up, they show us a higher perspective, they allow us to look down at the world from above to see, how if I just do this and that, it'll get me over there. And because they're of the air element, they're not that they're devoid of emotion, they just don't let it rule them. So when it comes to making those decisions as to what we should do, they're all about what makes sense. So they're not going to hold your hand. They're not going to, gently guide you. They're going to say, this is what needs to happen. It's up to you. And if you don't, well, that's your choice. It doesn't make sense to me if you don't do it. But So you're being shown that there was, and the cuckoos, they come while just up to the point where we're at the point of almost a breaking point, and then we realize something has to happen, and they come to confirm and guide you from that realization to actually making the thing happen that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So they guide you through the process of change, and they help you realize that if you make decisions and do what needs to be done without letting the emotions of guilt and worry and shame get in the way, then things flow so much easier, and you can cover a lot more ground, if you like, by so
it's just, I was so happy when I was like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful feather.
Well, you're very lucky because normally, because yours are a little bit frayed on the edges there, but often people find them during change, they're often quite damaged or crumpled up. It's really odd how even the way the feathers come to you and the form that the how intact they are.
In my garden.
Well, I think that's wonderful. To me, that's a great sign. We look when we are planning something or a change or a shift, moving up from Victoria, for example, we focused on should we change, should we move, and the kukul was one of the birds that we looked for guidance for that change. So
interesting. Oh my gosh. And then so on Sunday, I found this little one.
Yeah, that's a water bird.
So I was at a course on Sunday, Pranic Energy Healing Level 3, and I had just come back from the lunch break, and I was walking from my car to the church where it was being held, and eventually as I was turning to go into the building, I spied this on the floor, and I was like, oh, I have to pick that up. So that's that one. I can't remember what I was thinking at the time. I just remember that's the context around I was doing an energy healing course that day.
So was there any bodies of water nearby? No water?
It was in Bly, which you won't necessarily know where Bly.
I know exactly. We were going to buy a house in Bly. We know exactly Bly.
You do? Well, there you go.
Well, I don't, and that doesn't, it sort of confuses me because it looks all the world like a feather from like one of the from a, well, I want to say like a water bird, like a swan or something like that, but it's on
the black background.
Well, yeah, and the white of a, I'm trying to think of what it might be, but to me it looks like a water bird because of the shape and the way it curls, the way it lips at the end and everything. So I can't tell you what I think what that might be. What were you when you picked it up? Did you get any flash feelings of what sort of bird it might be from?
No, I'm not good at identifying birds.
No thoughts came to your mind?
No, I was just kind of like, oh, this has something to do with what I'm doing today. And I guess I just look at it, white spirit. That's probably the extent of what came into my brain at the time.
So just say, and you know what? And I've said this 1,000 times too. Driving along the road, you might see a dead wombat, and you think, oh, that means this and that. And the next time you might see the dead wombat, another dead wombat, and think, okay, that's just a wombat. Sometimes a wombat's just a wombat, and sometimes a feather comes into our life just purely for the colour and confirmation for exactly that itself. Yeah. So, like, we associate feathers with the angels, we associate them with our guides, we associate with our higher self. Yeah, but you think about what feathers are used for. So some people use them for smudging, some people use them as quills to write with. All those things are offering guidance as well. So I can't identify exactly what bird that's from, even though I want to say it's a water bird, like a heron or an egret or something like that. It could be, I'm not 100% sure, like an ibis perhaps, even though they're not a water bird, you see them often by the water.
Yeah.
And it's just too fine for it to be like a, see how it curls? It's like a weird twist to it. So to me, it's like a water bird. Yeah. You'll often see them in the wing feathers of swans. Even our black swans have the white feathers, and you'll see the curl in their feathers. But so you can. I would just see it as confirmation that you're being guided. And so, are you thinking about writing? Have you written anything about the work that you're doing?
Oh,
Yourself?
I'd always, it's always kind of like, oh, I'd love to write a book one day.
Well, the quill, I
About
just think the quill and guidance and
quill.
the story and what. So and write those guidance and the connection to the higher self and being guided and inspired. So if you came out of there feeling inspired, there could possibly have been a key there, but it could just be that the spirits were grateful that you were connecting with them at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
The last one, this one was
What
actually
else?
yesterday,
Right, so that's a juicy one.
and there was a broken bit at the bottom. I'm sorry, I'm ignoring the listeners. The watchers will be able to see the feathers. This is a brown feather, and I was coming in from getting the bins in off the curb, and I
So,
was thinking about social media. My computer's giving you thumbs up because I'm holding this feather up. I was thinking about social media because I'd literally just recorded a video for social media, and so that was just I was just
what was on your mind when you found the feather? Yeah,
when I found the feather. That was literally I was like, because I watched your web and I was like, oh, what was I thinking? I
yeah.
was thinking about
What
social
was I
media.
thinking? So,
On the driveway as I walk into to go.
yeah. And the trouble is that there's no other markings on it at all, and we can only assume that because it's jet black, or it's not. There's no such colour as jet black in nature anyway. It might have a brown tinge to it, or a bluey purple tinge. It's just brown. So look, I've got raven, for example, is obviously one of the main ones, but because of that white on the back, it's hard to. You might have bush turkeys. Do you have brush turkeys where you live?
It could be.
Okay, well, that's probably what it's with the brown, the brush turkey. But the brush turkey speaks about community. It talks about family. It talks about the people, and not just we've got our people. There's me. There's my family. They're my people. There's the community. But then there's my ancestry, my heritage. So when we think of people, I think of lineage. I think of connection to the people. I think of the people.
Yeah,
everyone.
I was talking about social media and my community.
That's right. That's exactly right. How you can't get more of a sign. But so if you want to look at that as confirmation that what you were thinking about how to approach your social media, that's possibly the thumbs up, that you'll reach more people that way, because we're still trying to figure out the best way to use social media. Exactly. No one really, everyone says they're an expert, but when you consult them, it doesn't always work the way they say it's going to work. So we're still figuring it out. But whatever you are thinking, it's going to work well for you. Yeah,
that's the key.
That's it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today, but I really want to hand over a few moments to talk about. When I was looking on your website, and it's certainly not the first time that I've been on there, but obviously I have been on it very recently to prepare for this conversation with you today. And there's so much on there, and I really encourage people to read your blog, particularly because I wanted to speak to this today.
I wouldn't call it a blog,
but it is.
I wouldn't call it a blog.
There are some, blog posts on there.
I haven't uploaded anything to there for like 3.5 billion years. I feel
like people who are new to your website, it's going to be like
exactly. It's the one place. It's the first place people go.
Exactly. It's the window to what you have to offer them, to support them in life. But there is one particular on there that I really encourage everyone to read. I'm not going to read it now because I don't have time, but it's particularly around so-called feral animals, and it caught my attention because of the beautiful image of the fox, and I just love foxes with all of my heart and soul. I just think, us bloody white people, we brought them here, and now they're like demons. Like, come on, guys, take some responsibility. The way that you speak about that in that post, especially if everyone would read that, I think, it would hopefully plant some seeds to change people's opinions. And it goes back again to why this animal and why not that animal. They're all special in their own unique ways. But there's also, you've got a whole bunch of offerings on there. You've got books. I've only got the animal dreaming one. You mentioned around the afterworld or the underworld. I want to get that one.
The afterworld,
The Earth Mother Dreaming book just looks
Yeah.
so beautiful. I've had
So
my
that's a
eyes
course.
on it.
That's a course unto itself.
Course.
It is. It's
So you do courses and you have books, and I'm just going to
yes.
stop talking. And Scott, I would love for you to talk about the ways that you can help people with all of the variety of offerings.
Well, do you know what? My primary goal is to my greatest desire would be to see everyone return to the Earth Mother and start to look to her for guidance, start to acknowledge her, start to treat her a bit more gently, and to form a relationship with the natural world, to realize that she provides everything that we need, everything that we could possibly ever want is provided to us by the Earth Mother, and that she watches us every day and guides us and speaks to us every day. And the animals, they're not just here to fill up space. They're not just here to otherwise, what is their purpose? They just look beautiful. I don't think they would go to the trouble of creating something so spectacular and unique and powerful just to have a fill up space to make us like ooh and ah every time we go out the front door. Does that make sense?
But that beauty does allow us to connect into the beauty of nature.
It's the power. It's the magnet. It's what draws us to want to stand in awe and look at something like that. And so I guess I would do whatever it takes to get that message out. I'll do whatever it takes to get people to stop and to listen and pay attention and to acknowledge them. As something greater than just fluffy furniture or fur babies, they're way more than that. And so I run workshops, I run seminars, I do readings, I have books and oracle cards. I've done everything in my power to make sure that I've got something that's going to appeal to you.
Whether it's
you might not be a reader. I've got oracle cards. Oh, I'm not really into oracle cards. Well, I've got CDs. Oh, okay, but I'm not here to hard sell. I don't give a rat's whether you use my books. I don't give a rat's if you prefer my books over. You prefer Ted Andrews' books over mine. I don't care if Stephen Farmer's your hero, and I'm just my books are never as good as his. Because we're friends. No, but some people have weird. They say, to me personally, I don't care what reference book you use as long as you look into the animals. It doesn't bother me if you use my books or not. But if you resonate with what I'm doing, I've got the cards, I've got the books, I've got the CDs, I've got the workshops, I've got the courses. And my main course it's a online course, but we meet once a month and we have a lot of powerful interaction on the same level and the same quality as that feather workshop, which I think when I just loved that experience of everyone with their feathers. To me, that was just gold.
Yeah.
Just the experience, the interaction, we have that once a month and it's just the most amazing experience. But in that course, I basically I want to know who you are. I want to know all about you. So and for my own interest, but the main part of it is to get you to listen to what you're saying and to remember who you are, to remember what makes you tick, do you want to understand what I'm saying? So the workshop it's like a course, it's like a labyrinth that's designed like a spiral that guides you. There's no right or wrong. You can't make a mistake. You can't fail the course, but it's going to be very confronting because it's going to press a lot of buttons and it's going to bring up some stuff that you might not have thought was still there or didn't even know it was there. Just as you get deeper within yourself, and the whole way into that sacred center, there's activities and experiences and little challenges and just a lot of questions that are designed to help you to sit, to be still, to listen, not to anyone else, not particularly not to me, but to yourself, to the Earth Mother and the animals. So when you get into the center of that circle, you've got a fair idea of how you got there, how you got to this point in life. And that's where a lot of people, they get stuck there a little bit, and that's just fine. because we're all patient people. We all just wait, and everyone in the group, we're all waiting and looking back to see how they're going, or coming around them to guide them, to help them catch up. It all takes time, and I don't care how long it takes. It runs for 12 months, but I've got people coming back for their third year.
Wow.
From that first enrollment, and we're still working through it together. So you get into the centre of the labyrinth, and then there's this little, so what's that over there? It's like a little light at the end of the tunnel, and then you start getting shown how to find your way back out of the labyrinth. And we've got people graduating from that course now who have said, I had no idea that I was capable of the things that I'm now realising. We've always been there. I dreamt about that, or I saw other people doing that, and now I'm doing it, and
amazing.
It's just wonderful. But it's all guided by the animals, the natural world, but not in an external sense. The course is designed to bring that, to bring you home to that embrace of the Earth Mother, and that, so you can hear her heartbeat, and you know that everything's just going to be fine. And the animals are like the guides, they're the mentors, they're the healers. Does that make sense? Yeah. I mean, it's challenging. It is designed to be challenging.
You're doing that inner work, right?
Yeah. And a lot of it is a lot of shadow work, but not in a. It's just the confronting part is that I ask people, tell me what you know. Just, I don't want to know what you've read. I don't want to know what someone else has said. I want to know how, you've been here before, you've done all this before. Tell me you remember how to do it. Tell me that. So that's where it's confronting, because who am I to say that, or who am I to think that? It's like, well, you are you, and I need to know who that is. And the animals, that's what they did to me through my healing journey. I trained under an elder, like that raven, and she literally symbolically pulled me apart and and had these piles on the floor in front of me, like imaginary piles of, this is the old me, and this, and both of them are the old me, but this is the good parts and this is the yucky parts. And then she said to me, do you want to put yourself back together using those same pieces? Or should we try something new? So I chose something new. And I remembered all that old stuff, that yucky stuff, wasn't me at all. It was indoctrinated beliefs and old things that didn't serve me anymore, and false beliefs and assumptions, and your
journey to discover who you are at your core essence.
That's right.
Supporting team of animals.
Like, seriously, what
with you?
You can work with your angels and stuff, but like, for goodness sake, like, what cooler guides are there than the animals? Like,
love it. And what's the name of that course?
It's very clever. The name it takes the animal dreaming practitioner course.
Use that one.
Yeah, it's just to keep everything back, bring everything back to the animal dreaming, because
it's the core of your work.
Well, it's truth for me. Yeah.
That course has been a course that I've had on my to-do list for years and years and years, since I first stumbled on your work forever ago. That's why I was like, I knew I had to have Scott on my show. Oh my God. And when you said yes, I was like, oh my God. But it was like, that is a course that I have wanted to do forever. And it's about it. I do honestly believe in divine timing, and I'm pretty confident that one day you will see me there.
Oh, you know what? You're doing the work.
Don't stop running it anytime soon.
No, I won't. I promise I won't. But it's you're already doing it. Like, you are already, the core essence of it all is to remember who you are and why you're put on this planet, and what it is you're supposed to do now that you're here. And and it's about just walking in harmony with the animals in the natural world. And I suspect very strongly that you're already doing a large amount of that. So,
I am.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I get this from my mother. I'm one of those people who has a thirst for knowledge and is always exploring.
Yeah.
And always wanting to show up as my best self and do my best work, because similar to you, for me, it is, I am here for the animals. I'm here to be a voice for the animals. I'm here to help the animals.
You're like a leader.
I'm here to help people see the inherent value of the animals,
Yeah.
to connect with them on a deep heart soul level. Like, I know that is my work, but there's always opportunity to learn new things.
Because you're an animal naturopath, aren't you? Like,
I
you work,
am.
and do you work with animals on a naturopathic, using naturopathy? Yeah.
And energetic as well,
Yeah.
energy healing too.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? When I read that, I just thought that you, like, I thought maybe I'm an animal naturopath, but working from a different perspective, using the animals as the remedies, like, and calling upon the animals, the energies to help with.
Well, there's an aspect of that in the work I do, particularly in the connection piece, around, learning about, observing your animal, learning about them, really getting to know who they are, not who you think they are,
or what they are,
and learning about, the soul connection, the journey that you're actually living side by side with your animal right now, the reciprocal journey that it is, and just opening people's eyes up to that is an aspect of my work, because it's something that I've done with my own. And I just know, like, it's and the connections with are they a member of your soul family, lives that you've lived together, like Elvie, who I was really hoping would show his face today. He's had previous lives. Here's another symbolism story for you. He's had previous lives as a tiger, and there have been certain events that have happened in this life together with us, and we have been in lives together before with him in the form of a tiger and me in the form of like a humanoid type structure.
Yeah.
And I've had visions of me lying on him as a tiger, like lying on his belly, and he's like my, companion. And then I've had other visions of where he often sleeps on the pillow next to my bed. And for a few occasions, I had fear. I was looking at him and I felt like he was going to attack me. And I'm like, he's never attacked me before. Why would he? He's not going to attack me. And I'm like, am I having a memory?
Yeah.
Because that's where my brain works. I'm always looking at the bigger thing. Like, is this a thing? Is this a significant, like, past life memory? Oh my God, this is so exciting,
Am I remembering
and then
something?
I'm getting seen. I'm like seen beneath the veil. Oh my gosh, there's something new for me to learn. Oh my gosh. And so, but it was like this fear. It's like, are you going to attack me? And then I'm like, oh, have you? And then one night I got it, and I looked him in the eyes. I'm like, Elfie, have you attacked me in a previous life when you were a tiger? Is that it? So it's just really, and then once I had that realization, the fear went away. Didn't happen again.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, oh yeah, that was a message, and you got it, and that was a memory,
that's right.
and because it goes away. So even the symbolism of tiger and how that comes in, and so I just like this stuff is like is this huge inner spark within me, and I just love it, and it's one of the reasons why I created the podcast. It's like, hello, you can have conversations like this. Oh my God,
talk about animals all day.
Talk about animals, cool. People like it, great. If they don't, well, I've had some really great conversations,
That's right. But
it's such a deep, rich world to explore, and I think you're offering this particular offering. Obviously, you've got other ones as well, but I think, like, for me, it's like, because I love one-on-one stuff, right? And for me, the way that I'm drawn to you first is like, oh, I've got to book in a one-on-one reading because that's just so cool. And then it's like, oh, and then I want to go deeper and do the course. But that's me. Other people might be like, oh, I'm just going to do the course. Or other people might be like, I'm going to get a book.
Well, you know what? That's why I present what I do in so many different ways, so that I was up until recently. I was doing all the Mind, Body, Spirit festivals up on stage, because I just wanted to reach as many people as I could reach, since the eye accident, I haven't been able to do that as much, but but I still do everything in my power to get the people to stop and look to the animals and understand that there's something else going on there. So whether it be the book or the oracle cards or a session or a workshop or the course, but the course, like with the book though, oracle cards, whatever it is, don't, like with my book and my courses, you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
You're coming not just to learn about the animals or to connect with the animals. You're doing it to learn about yourself and to connect with yourself. And that's the one thing I've noticed with the majority of people who come to my workshops and things, is that they're not seeking something outside themselves. They're trying to figure out their greater purpose, or to remember, what's all this about. And I think that's why I think the course, I'm so proud of it, because it's that. I've actually, because I wrote it hoping that it would work, and I wrote it hoping that it would do that. I had a friend pull it together as an actual course, but I knew what I was hoping. I knew what I was hoping to achieve. Anyway, now that I've got people who have gone through it, and there's some that are just like little golden stars. I just look at them and I'm so proud of them, because they might have once sat right back in the webinars and in like almost a shadow, and now they're sitting up nice and close, and they don't see what I see. And I've seen them grow, and even through our discussions and our webinar catch-ups, and I've seen them, the light return to their eyes, and they come and they've done their hair, and like they're not in their jammies anymore, stuff like that.
You know like what I mean? Peacock, make myself look beautiful.
Yeah, no, but it's this realization that the animals are doing exactly what they promised me they would do, and helping the people heal. And
I love it.
I'm over talking, but you know what I mean.
But it's worthy of that. Like we're talking about deep, not that I've done the course, but I just know it. Like you said before about like, what do you know? I know. Like, I know your work is solid. I know it's like, this is deep healing medicine.
Yeah. It is
it's
medicine.
Not just about learning what this animal means. It's actually going in and doing that.
And I don't do anything else. This is all I do. I don't do anything else. I don't have another job. This is it.
Yeah.
And I'm so, I made a pact. I made a promise, and I have lived every day honouring that promise. And I had that quality time training under Raven, and she never charged me for what I did. And she said, you have to, you have to share this with other people. That's the payment. That's what I wanted.
I love that.
And now, because this is all I do, I obviously charge for what I'm doing, but just to live, I've got kids, just to live the life that I can live, to keep doing what I'm doing. That's, but I don't have trillions of dollars or fancy cars or a fancy house. None of that. As long as my kids are happy and safe and healthy, and that's all that matters.
The word of the animals and Mother Earth. And what's your website?
Animal Dreaming.
Animaldreaming.com.
Yeah, that's the website.
There'll be a whole bunch of links in the show notes. Whatever's going to be, I'll check in with you when we go live, but whatever's relevant at the time. If the course is about to start, there'll be linking there for that. But I'll put all the relevant links in there so people can go and go into a deep dive into your world and the animal dreaming world, and just be like I am.
Awesome. You're brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. I loved spending this time with you, and I'm trusting that my audience will love it too. And who knows, if your audience listening as well.
Who knows? As long as it touches one person, I'll be happy.
Exactly. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute honour and privilege.
You're welcome.
How cool was that chat with Scott? Oh, there is so much about that I absolutely loved. Now, just towards the end there, we spoke about Scott's Animal Dreaming Practitioner Program. I've got great news for you. Scott will be taking enrollments for his 2025 Practitioner Program in January. If you're interested in learning more, check out the link in the show notes for all the details about the program. You can sign up via that link to be notified when the program is open for registration. Now, if you loved this episode, if you love this show, I would absolutely love your support. Here are some ways that you can support the show. Write a review, comment on Spotify or YouTube, subscribe, and share with people who you think will love the show too. And if you're looking for pet food that contains premium quality ingredients sourced from ethical Australian suppliers, be sure to check out the sponsor of this podcast, Frontier Pets. They provide better pet food for a better world. And that's all I have for you this week. Until next time, big love to you and your animal kin.